Saran Empire, on the main peak of the Holy Land nearly 100 miles away from the imperial capital. This is the top of the main peak of the Holy Land. It is shrouded in clouds and mist all year round. The rich spiritual energy is like a tide, constantly surging and rolling on the top of the peak, giving people an unspeakable shock. At this moment, in front of a dark stone gate on the main peak of the Holy Land, a figure was standing there quietly. He was not tall, but he gave people an inexplicable aura. It was obvious that he had been in a high position for a long time. This figure turned out to be His Majesty Peter, the Emperor of the Salem Empire and the Lord of the country. But at this moment, the Emperor who controls a large empire in the mainland is like a disciple who is listening to the teachings. He looks very respectful towards the dark stone gate in front of him. Great sage, in this genius trial, the Spirit Master Tower and other forces were so arrogant. They killed the elders of the Holy Land of our Salem Empire, and even killed Venerable Reina and all the genius disciples of the Holy Land. Now the continent is in turmoil, the situation is undercurrent. According to the Empire's intelligence, the Cairo Empire and the Kamikaze Empire are secretly gathering their troops. Although there is no sign of an attack yet, based on the other party's behavior in the genius trial, sooner or later they will launch an attack on all our major forces. I would like to ask if our Salem Empire should join forces with other forces to strike first and catch the other party off guard. His Majesty Peter's calm voice rang on the mountain peak. Ever since Bispham informed all the major forces in the mainland that all their disciples were killed in the genius trial, all the major forces were extremely shocked. Now, everyone is secretly holding back their anger. Although on the surface, the mainland seems it sounds calm, but in fact it is like a dynamite barrel on a volcano, which may explode at any time. As one of the four major empires in the mainland, the Salem Empire is different from the Twin Towers and the Three Cities. It has a vast territory and a huge territory. Once a war breaks out, it will be a war for the entire continent, so it needs to take the lead, otherwise, by the time the other party hits, it will be completely too late. Your Majesty Peter, our Salem Empire, can temporarily join forces with other forces such as the Wei-Tian Empire to gather troops, but the time is not yet ripe for a real war. An old and indifferent voice came out from the dark stone door. Is the time not yet ripe? His Majesty Peter frowned. Great Sage McGrady, judging from what the Cairo Empire and the Kamikaze Empire have done in the genius trial, the other party has long been aware of this matter. Premeditated, our Salem Empire has suffered a big loss now and is at a disadvantage. If the opponent takes advantage of us in the attack and catches us by surprise, the Empire will probably fall into a more dangerous situation. His Majesty Peter spoke calmly. Your Majesty Peter, don't worry, the Cairo Empire and the Kamikaze Empire will not start a war with our Salem Empire and the Wei-Tian Empire. The indifferent voice sounded again. You won't start a war with us now? His Majesty Peter's eyes were full of doubts. Yes. The old voice was full of affirmation. At least, the Cairo Empire and the Kamikaze Empire will stand still until the day of the god's birthday. Master Atkinson Tower and the others will not do stupid things before the day of the god's birthday. The reason why they are doing this is to prevent the Master of Bispham Tower from living until the day of God's birthday. Once the day of God's birthday is over and the situation of the major forces is clear, the entire continent will be affected. When the war begins, it turns out to be like this. Although His Majesty Peter is only an 8th-level imperial spiritual master, as the emperor of the four major empires, he understands what this day of the god's birth represents to the peak strength of the major forces. After hearing what McGrady said, he immediately understood the purpose of Atkinson Tower Master and the others. Great Sage McGrady, that empire? His Majesty Peter asked respectfully. Your Majesty, what the Empire needs to do now is to mobilize supplies and assemble the army. With the current situation, the mainland will definitely fall into chaos in the near future. It's just a matter of time. The fate of the Empire depends on everything. It depends on that time. Understood, great sage, I'll take my leave then. His Majesty Peter spoke respectfully and immediately left the top of the mountain. After His Majesty Peter left, calm returned to the dark stone cave. However, a moment later, there was a sudden burst of extremely violent spiritual power fluctuations. Caswell's destiny is still there, which means he is still alive. And according to my calculations, his destiny is getting stronger and stronger. What's going on? What happened to Caswell? Didn't Bispham say that all the disciples have perished? However, I vaguely felt that Jason seemed to be still alive. At that time, the master of Atkinson Tower was in the trial place, and what happened to Caswell? Who escaped from the desperate situation? The old and indifferent voice, filled with doubts, came from the cave. And what's even more strange is why I can clearly feel that Caswell's destiny is getting stronger and stronger, but I can't feel his current position. The old voice, full of doubts, said in the cave it echoes for a long time. Deep in the seven-star sea, on the island of darkness. Rumble. A huge roar resounded in the sky, and a shocking yin-yang divine light pierced the sky like a comet from the calamity cloud. The dazzling light cut through the space and hit Jason hard. Pfft. Jason's body was covered with blood. However, the next moment, it was evaporated dry in the terrifying yin and yang light. In an instant, Jason's body split open, revealing the wriggling muscles and blood vessels. It was extremely terrifying. In midair, Jason gritted his teeth, his skin cracked, and looked up at the two-color clouds that were constantly rolling in the sky, with blood dripping from the corners of his eyes. At this moment, there was not an inch of intact skin on Jason's body, and blood was constantly flowing. Then it was evaporated by the vast spiritual power of light and darkness. Jason felt that his body was about to explode, and it was almost difficult to resist. In the past 2 days, Jason has prepared a bottle of 9th-level low-grade holy-level elixir for each of Edma's, Caswell, Monica, and Lan Yuigusan. After undergoing 4 laws of calamity training, Jason's physical strength improved to an astonishing degree, and his understanding of the laws also increased astonishingly. However, what disappoints Jason is that not only did he fail to advance to the 8th level of Advanced Imperial Spiritual Master, he also failed to reach the 9th level of Intermediate Physical Strength. The gap in physical strength is really too huge. After the 9th level, it is extremely difficult to advance to any level. It is no less than advancing from the 1st level to the 9th level. Under the bombardment of tribulation, Jason's physical strength increased at an alarming rate, but he still failed to break through. However, Jason could also feel that his physical strength was only 1 step away from the 9th level intermediate level. Therefore, Jason put his hope in the dual system of light and darkness prepared for Cassinus. The law of the 9th level holy spiritual potion. However, Jason never thought that the power of the law tribulation produced by the light and dark dual system holy elixir he prepared for Cassinus would be so huge that he had survived many law tribulations. The 9th level low-level elixir Saint Master is also unbearable. Although the light system and the dark system do not belong to special systems, the power of the 2 systems has always been the more powerful 2 types among the attributes of each system. Therefore, Jason deliberately put Cassinus's dual system light and dark elixir to the last preparation, and first prepared the dual system water and wood elixir for Lan Yuigusan. However, despite this, the dual system light and dark holy level elixir was the intensity of the catastrophe caused by the potion law was far beyond Jason's expectation, making it difficult for him to resist. Boom! Deafening roars kept ringing in Jason's ears. Jason's eardrums vibrated. The skin all over his body had already cracked. His whole body had become a bloody man, and bright lights continued to shine. The sky and the earth lit up, and torrents of light and dark elements moved like wild dragons, tearing apart the void. Around Jason, one side was as bright as day, piercing the eyes, while the other side was as dark as night, making it difficult to distinguish things. 2 completely similar powers, like a startling rainbow, piercing through space and straight into the sky, shot down Jason one after another. Top of head. In midair, Jason's body was about to be shattered. Even his bones had countless cracks. He became a bloody man with not an inch of intact skin on his body. And this is not only physically, but also in the soul. The combination of two completely similar attributes, light and dark, actually made Jason's soul, which was strong enough to reach the peak level, feel waves of dizziness and struggling to hold on. On the ground, Lanuigusan and Cassinus, who saw this scene, clenched their hands tightly and their eyes were full of worry. They all felt that Jason this time was different from the previous times. Although the previous times were dangerous, they could not be compared with this time in terms of horror. Boom! Another terrifying torrent of light and dark elements crashed down, aimed at Jason, who was staggering in the sky, and struck hard. Jason! At this moment, Lanuigusan could no longer endure it. Unable to hold on any longer, she rushed into the heavenly tribulation area and stood in front of Jason. The terrifying attack in black and white instantly fell on Lanuigusan's body. Pfft! As a 9th-level low-level elixir master of water and wood, Lanuigusan, who could compete with the deputy master of the Jialuo Tower in terms of strength, was seriously injured in an instant under the bombardment of this terrible spiritual power, and sprayed out from his mouth. Blood came out. Lanuigusan, get out of the way. Seeing this scene, Jason's spleen turned red and he roared, while pushing Lanuigusan away. Regardless of Lanuigusan's strength, in terms of fighting against the heavenly tribulation, even if Jason is an 8th-level intermediate Emperor Spirit Master, he is still much stronger than Lanuigusan. Facing the crisis of death, at this moment, Jason completely released his fighting power. Jason, who was covered in wounds, finally broke out. A stream of powerful spiritual power surged out of his body. He gritted his steel teeth, looked up to the sky. Come on, isn't it just a small catastrophe? I still don't believe that I can't survive it. Jason roared up to the sky, his eyes were red, and the spiritual power in his body was running rapidly, golden spirit beads, wood spirit beads, earth spirit beads, etc. Spirit beads, the 3 spirit beads were spinning rapidly, exuding an astonishing aura, and rushed towards the calamity clouds in the sky. As if being angered by Jason's words, the black and white calamity clouds that were constantly condensing and rotating in the sky became completely violent. In the rumbling thunder and lightning, a torrent of elements like a dam bursting crashed from the sky and descended, completely submerging Jason into it. Jason struggled to hold on amid the terrifying torrent of elements. In the void, terrifying space cracks spread like spider webs for hundreds of miles, and the entire sky was shaking violently, as if it would collapse at any time. This piece of sky is about to collapse. The sky is suddenly pierced into a honeycomb. Immortal black, spiritual light cuts through the vast universe, shining hundreds of millions of stars, shattering the space. In the torrent, Jason felt that his body was about to collapse, and he was completely unable to withstand it. His scarred body continued to crack, and the scars spread to his limbs and even his bones. Jason's will began to blur. Both the light and dark elements could directly attack the spiritual master's soul. The combination of the two opposite attributes of light and darkness was at least as powerful as the law of heavenly tribulation of the light or dark elements alone. At least 10 times stronger. As powerful as Jason, he couldn't hold on anymore. He was covered in blood and scarred, and he could fall at any time with only the breath of his heart and a will. At this critical moment of life and death, buzz. A terrible power suddenly rose up in Jason's body. His body, which was originally full of wounds, was slowly being bombarded by the tribulation. Recovered. After such a long period of tempering and forging, Jason's body finally broke through the shackles of the low-level 9th level and entered the intermediate level of the 9th level. At this moment, Jason seemed to be reborn. The cells in his bones, internal organs, tendons, muscles, skin, and hair all began to reorganize and undergo transformation. The squirming black and white calamity clouds in the sky seemed to have sensed something. At this moment, they suddenly became more violent, like a treasure bottle containing milk and ink tipping over, scattering bright two-color curtains. The two colors of black and white were clearly distinct. A trace of the power of light and dark elements formed a huge spiritual vortex around Jason's body, rushing madly towards Jason in the center of the vortex, and was then absorbed into Jason's body. Jason, who had almost died before, was now glowing with divine light, like glass, so powerful that it was hard to believe in anything. Boom! The torrent of light and dark elements continued to impact from the calamity cloud, hitting Jason hard. However, the elemental attack that could easily seriously injure Jason before could not cause much damage to Jason at this moment. Instead, there was a trace of light and dark spiritual power, which was slowly sucked into Jason's body and stored in Jason's cells. I don't know how long it took, but the two-color calamity cloud finally dissipated. Because the ninth order holy level light and dark dual system spiritual potion was born, the legal calamity caused by it finally slowly disappeared. Haha! Feeling his strong body, Jason's mouth suddenly overflowed with hearty laughter, like thunder, resounding in the sky. Jason, are you okay? Lanuagusan and Cassinus, who were extremely worried next to them, both rushed forward. I'm fine, but I need to recuperate. Although his physical strength has increased to the 9th level, the damage caused to Jason by the previous catastrophe was too serious, and he could not fully recover in this moment. Cassinus, this is the elixir I prepared for you. Jason picked up the prepared elixir and handed it to Cassinus's hand. Cassinus, wriggled my lips, but I didn't know what to say. It was Jason's previous situation that made him full of worry. Okay, I made you talk about other people yesterday, why is it your turn? Mother-in-law, 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 Jason laughed. Now that I have prepared all your elixirs, you can go ahead and practice. I also need to take care of myself. After Jason finished speaking, he couldn't wait to practice cross-legged and closed his eyes. His physical strength had just reached the 9th level intermediate level, and Jason needed to be consolidated and nursed back to health. In this way, Jason fully practiced and waited until the next day. Sunkai opened his eyes. Looking at his body that was as lustrous as white jade but extremely powerful, Jason couldn't help but smile. In the following time, Jason did not practice, but continued to prepare the ingredients. This time, he was not preparing a 9th level holy level elixir, but an 8th level emperor level elixir that could improve the body's resistance. With this preparation, Jason prepared 3 more bottles of emperor level elixir. Spiritual potion, for Jason who can withstand the heavenly calamity of the 9th level law, the heavenly and earthly medicine calamity caused by the 8th level emperor level spiritual potion is too easy, even if the spiritual energy concentration is nearly 10 times higher than the outside world. It did not cause any trouble to Jason at all. After preparing these 3 emperor-level spiritual potions, Jason rested for a while, and then flew up, his eyes shining with brilliance. It flew towards the whirlpool. Jason did not wait until he was promoted to the 8th level senior imperial spiritual master to go because his previous savings were too little. Although this time the genius trial and the life and death battle made Jason's, there has been an astonishing improvement in strength. At the same time, the heavenly tribulation of laws also gave Jason a lot of understanding of the laws. However, after all, Jason only advanced to the 8th level intermediate emperor spiritual master 2 months ago. In terms of understanding of the laws, perhaps Jason is already close to being an 8th level imperial spiritual master, but in terms of accumulating spiritual power within his body, Jason has not yet reached that level. No matter how talented Jason is, even if he has nearly 10 times the power of the outside world, where the force element is concerned, it would take at least 2 or 3 months for Jason to accumulate enough spiritual power to advance to the 8th level. Jason cannot afford such a long time. Of course, if Jason takes it now, with those 5 attributes of the holy fruit, one might be able to directly advance to the 8th level advanced imperial spiritual master, but this is too wasteful for the 9th level holy fruit. As a master of elixirs, Jason would never do such a thing to waste ninth order holy forest material. Jason, where are you going? And when Jason flew towards the whirlpool in the center of the Seven Islands, Blue Moon Goosen followed closely. Jason was just suspended there on the endless sea floor, looking at the majestic and domineering palace, feeling extremely shocked in his heart. Shui Ling, what exactly is this place, and why does such a temple appear? Jason murmured, his eyes trembling with fear. This is the depth of the Seven-Star Sea, one of the 7 forbidden areas in the mainland. It is full of dangers. Even a 9th-level Holy Spirit Master cannot walk here alone. What's more, Jason and the others had already seen an ancient ruin outside, but he didn't expect that there would be such a mysterious water spirit temple at the bottom of this endless deep sea. Jason was shocked and also confused at the same time. And for some reason, Jason felt that the Water Spirit Palace was somewhat similar to the god-killing Nadim's Jintong Palace, even though one was located in the Cloud Swamp in the southernmost part of the continent, and the other was located in the Seven-Star Sea in the Desolate Ocean in the easternmost part of the continent. The visible distance is more than thousands of miles apart, but judging from the structure and shape of the building, the Shuiling Palace and the Jintong Palace are very similar. In front of the Water Spirit Palace, Jason's figure slowly descended, looking around at the same time. The place where he was at the moment was indeed the bottom of the sea, but around the Water Spirit Palace, for some unknown reason, there seemed to be something strange. The power of the earth actually excludes all the sea water, and no sea water can come close to the Blue Palace. It is like there is a transparent cover that protects the palace and keeps all the sea water outside. At this moment, Jason was in the waterless area around the palace. But when Jason sensed it carefully, he discovered that the edge of the seawater had no special cover at all, as if it was naturally formed. When Jason looked up, he also saw a blue dot on the outside of the invisible cover at the top of the palace. Jason, who had come down from there earlier, understood that this blue dot led to the huge whirlpool spreading to the bottom of the sea. Location. But the next moment, Jason had put all these thoughts behind him. He had already seen what he was looking for. Right in front of the Blue Palace, there was a sapphire stone platform, and in the center of the stone platform, a blue ball the size of a tennis ball was suspended in the air. The blue ball was spinning leisurely, surrounded by blue filaments, constantly emitting amazing power. Blue light points slowly rose from it, like stars in the night sky, and came. The top of the cover leads to the blue dot of the whirlpool, and then submerges into it. At the same time, a mysterious power was faintly exuding from inside the ball, attracting Jason, and the strange black power in Jason's body was slowly moving at this moment. Is this a water spirit bead? Jason was filled with excitement as he slowly stretched out his right hand and grabbed the rotating post spirit bead. A familiar scene appeared. As soon as Jason's right hand came into contact with the blue ball, the water spirit bead gradually merged into Jason's palm. At the same time, the strange black power in Jason's body merged with the blue ball without Jason's control. The other 3 spirit beads in Jason's mind were also spinning crazily. Poison. An inexplicable and powerful force burst out instantly in Jason's body. This force had always been so huge, and it instantly hit the sky above Jason's spiritual sea. Under the impact of this terrifying energy, Jason's mind he received a strong shock, and a strong sense of dizziness filled his mind. When Jason absorbed the earth spirit bead, he was able to resist it for a moment. Now Jason is stronger. The powerful power released by the water spirit bead is not as terrifying, but Jason is gritting his teeth. Persist in. A wave of terrifying impulses constantly invaded Jason's mind. Jason's soul, which was as powerful as the peak of the 9th level, could not help shaking, but he insisted on not being obsessed. He was actually using this water spirit bead. Terrible impact, tempering one's soul. Just when Jason was struggling to hold on, whoosh! The violent sounds of surging water suddenly sounded above his head. Jason, who didn't know what was going on, couldn't help but look up in confusion. At this sight, Jason's eyes suddenly widened and his mouth opened wide. The transparent cover over the palace disappeared at some point, and the surging seawater, like the palace collapsing, hit Jason's location fiercely. Boom! The surging water was annihilated in an instant. Everything, in the terrible impact, Jason, who could barely resist the impact of the water spirit beads before, could no longer resist, and a wave of dizziness suddenly appeared in his mind. Damn it, who touched the water spirit divine orb and disturbed the great Lord Giras's sleep? He deserves death. In the midst of huge dizziness, a voice full of terrifying pressure suddenly sounded in Jason's mind. The sound of angry shouting was so terrifying that a person as powerful as Jason could not help but feel excited and almost vomited blood. The next moment, Jason was completely fascinated. When Jason absorbed the water spirit bead and fell into a vice. Jason, you've been in there for so long, why haven't you come out yet? Nothing will happen, right? In the sky, Lan Yugusen looked at the dark whirlpool below. After waiting for a long time, Lan Yugusen's face I couldn't help but feel a little anxious. Lan Yugusen has been waiting outside since Jason entered the vortex. Although she is full of information about Jason and believes that Jason will not put herself in danger without certainty, but after waiting for such a long time, she didn't see Jason appear either, but she felt worried again. This time it took Jason much longer to enter the whirlpool than last time. According to last experience, no matter how deep the seabed is, Jason should have reached the end after such a long time. No, I'd better go down and take a look. After waiting for a while, Lan Yugusen, who was worried about Jason, couldn't help it anymore, and then flew away into the whirlpool. But before she reached the whirlpool, she heard boom. A huge roar suddenly came from the depths of the sea. Immediately, an astonishingly powerful spiritual power suddenly came from the depths of the sea. Come, amidst the huge roar, the majestic, spectacular, and terrifying huge whirlpool, like a collapsed building that lost its supports, collapsed instantly. Endless sea water came from all directions and filled the huge ravine. In an instant, the huge whirlpool that was still spinning continuously and shocking people, in the next moment, had disappeared, leaving only waves on the sea. Surge. This Lan Yugusen was stunned. Jason. Immediately, she trembled in her mouth, and at the same time, her whole body rushed into the sea like crazy. Bang! The water splashed everywhere, and Lan Yugusen's whole body was submerged into the sea like a cannonball, and at the same time it flew towards the bottom of the sea crazily. However, as soon as she entered the sea, a bone-chilling chill penetrated from the sea into her. In his body, at the same time, a terrifyingly powerful binding force squeezed towards Lan Yugusen from all directions. It was as if what Lan Yugusen entered was not sea water, but a sea made of mercury. But Lan Yugusen's figure did not pause at all. The powerful 9th level low-level spiritual master continued to release. As a water and wood spiritual master, she instantly formed a small spiritual shield on her body. At the same time, her whole body dived towards the bottom of the sea. However, what frightened Lan Yugusen was that the chill grew stronger as she went deeper, and at the same time, the terrifying squeezing force became stronger and stronger. She dived about 300 meters under the sea. At that time, the shield that Lan Yugusen tried his best to support was actually squeezed and twisted. But Lan Yugusen ignored it and continued to grit his teeth and dive downwards. Finally, when entering 500 meters below sea level, Pung! Lan Yugusen, who was a 9th level low-level Holy Spirit Master, tried his best to release the shield. It completely collapsed and exploded. The surrounding seawater rushed towards Lan Yuguji in an instant, and she was the whole person is wrapped in it. Cold, a coldness that penetrated the bone marrow, instantly spread throughout Lan Yugusen's body, making her, a 9th level low-level Holy Spirit Master, tremble. At the same time, an incomparably powerful force of oppression squeezed Lan Yugusen's body from all directions, squeezing all the internal organs in his body to pieces. There was blood seeping out of it. In just a moment, Lan Yugusin felt that his mind was heavy, blood was oozing out from everywhere in his body, and his whole body had a tendency to sink involuntarily. Not good. In the crisis, Lan Yugusin gritted his teeth, waved the Aoki god in his hand, and wrapped himself in it. The amazing water laws dissipated, protecting his body, and he soared into the sky a moment later, on the calm sea. Wow! Amidst the roar of the huge water flow, a figure rose into the sky from the bottom of the sea, causing a huge wave of waves. As soon as this figure appeared, he was breathing heavily, his whole body was shivering, the black hair on his head was frozen with ice, and there was blood at the corner of his mouth. It was Lan Yugusin who had escaped from death at the bottom of the sea. As soon as Lan Yugusin escaped, she looked at the sea below with worry. With the whirlpool channel, she could enter 1,500 meters under the sea, but in this sea water, she could not even. I can't hold on even for 500 meters. Jason, you must survive. She murmured in her mouth, clenching her fists tightly, her eyes filled with worry, but she was helpless. This is the core of the Seven-Star Sea, one of the 7 forbidden areas in the mainland. It is full of dangers. Even this sea water is full of dangers. If Lan Yugusin had not been powerful, or had hesitated a little when encountering danger before, I am afraid she would have fallen to the bottom of the sea. If you hit, no one knows. This is the Seven-Star Sea. Everywhere is full of crises, and there is no room for any negligence. When Lan Yugusin was extremely worried about Jason's safety, deep under the sea. In the open space in front of the Shuiling Palace, Jason was lying there quietly at the moment, with blue rays of light flashing continuously from his body. At this moment, the Water Spirit Palace has long been submerged by endless sea water, but around Jason, there seems to be an invisible cover with a diameter of about 2 meters, covering Jason inside, and no water flows in. On the surface of Jason's body, streaks of blue light formed strange and mysterious spiritual patterns, which appeared from time to time. These spiritual patterns were simple and complex, full of mystery, and gave people a feeling that they contained the laws of the Great Road. Against the background of these blue secret texts, Jason's body also faintly showed a blue color, giving people a soft and tough feeling. These blue secret texts are like lines running through electricity, constantly lighting up, and dimming again, and the aura in Jason's body is slowly increasing as this process progresses. Next to Jason, a towering figure more than 10 feet tall was staring at Jason in shock. This is a huge creature covered with blue scales as big as a fist, with a pair of blue pupils, and a pair of blue horns on its head. It exudes an amazing aura, with water elements all over its body. The mysterious laws of it flow and surround it, giving people an extremely majestic feeling. At this moment, this terrifying spiritual beast was staring at Jason lying there in shock. This kid is actually fusing the water spirit bead. This is impossible. The blue spirit beast shook his head, with disbelief in his eyes. The water spirit bead, that was the artifact given to the master by that master back then. Only water spiritual gods who have reached the spiritual god level can use it, but this kid is obviously an 8th level intermediate emperor spiritual master. How can he absorb the water spirit bead without being absorbed by the huge energy contained in the water spirit bead? Will it explode in an instant? A voice with boundless coercion and incredible shock boomed from its mouth. The blue spirit beast looked at Jason carefully. Suddenly, as if it felt something, its whole body took a few steps back. It was so shocked that it almost fell to the ground. Yuan, this in addition to the water Lingzhu, why do I also feel the aura of the golden Lingzhu, wood Lingzhu and earth Lingzhu from this kid? The 5 elements Lingzhu was the treasure of that lord back then. Only the spiritual gods of each department who have controlled the origin of the law can use it, and they were given to the masters by the master respectively. But why does this kid already have 4 kinds of water spirit beads, including the water spirit beads? Blue ones? His eyes were filled with solemnity and shock. Not to mention anything else, the golden spirit pearl should be in the Jintong Palace deep in the cloud swamp, guarded by Phils, so how could this kid get it? Is there any connection between this kid and the adult back then? Yes, that must be the case. The huge blue eyes looked at Jason with a hint of reverence at this moment. The Master's 7-star island is located in the mysterious space of the 7-star sea. Most people can't see it at all. There is no way to enter. You can only enter through the mansion built by the non-realm master for that adult. Otherwise, with this kid's strength, it is impossible to break through the restriction and come to this 7-star island. In this case, let him stay here. Let's do it. A huge voice rumbled, and the blue eyes looked at Jason with a complex look. Immediately, the huge figure slowly disappeared, as if it had never appeared before. Time passes slowly. 1 day. 2 days. 5 days. 10 days. Just like this, Jason was completely in a coma and practicing, constantly transforming under the powerful energy of the water spirit beads. And a month after Jason fell into a coma, due to absorbing the water spirit pearl Cairo Empire, the Daos family in Shawnee County. In the reception hall of the Daos family mansion, a large group of people were sitting around at the moment. Sitting on the main seat in the hall is the patriarch of the Daos family, one of the 4 major families in the Cairo Empire, the 8th-level peak imperial spiritual master, Emperor Fist Rao. Below him are Augustus and other members of the Daos family. A group of strong men, but opposite him, sitting at the guest and host seats, were 2 young men who looked to be only about 30 years old. One of them was wearing a black cloak, but he exuded a heart-stopping aura. Haha, Patriarch Lavanzi is indeed worthy of being a talented core disciple of the spiritual master Pagoda, and the legitimate son of the Decker family of the Kamikaze Empire. He is so powerful at such a young age, which makes us ashamed. Patriarch Rao said cheerfully. Make a sound. This young man in a black cloak turned out to be the legitimate son of the Dekir family of the Kamikaze Empire, and he was serving under Elder Radamandes, the 2nd elder of the spiritual master tower. Clan Chief Rao is too polite. The younger generation has heard about the reputation of the patriarch since he was a child. The Emperor's Fist Rao is all over Cairo. In the hearts of the younger generation, the patriarch has always been my idol. Livin said with a smile. Haha, I'm old. Rao shook his head. I think when I was your age, I was just a disciple of the family, but Patriarch Livins, you are already the head of the family. You are really young and promising. After the leader of the Decker family, Lyndon, was killed by Renault and Jason together, the leader of the Decker family, who used to be famous in the Kamikaze Empire, was always represented by the 2nd elder of the Decker family, but not long ago, after the mainland genius trial, Livins returned to the Decker family and personally took over as the patriarch, becoming one of the youngest patriarchs in the entire Kamikaze Empire. However, the entire Kamikaze Empire did not do this. Any unreasonable opinions were met with a chorus of praise, because of Livins' status as a core disciple of the spiritual master Pagoda, and also because of his powerful strength as an 8th-level intermediate emperor spiritualist. Clan leader Livins, I don't know this. Once you came to our Daos family, what advice could you give me? After a few words of greeting, the 2 parties quickly got down to business. The Daos family and the Dekre family, one is located in the Cairo Empire and the other is located in the Kamikaze Empire. Although both parties know each other, they have never been in contact with each other, but this time, not long after Lavanzi ascended to the position of patriarch, he came directly to him without even visiting the major families of the Kamikaze Empire, which made Patriarch Rao extremely confused. Haha, that's it. Livins' originally smiling face suddenly turned gloomy. Chief Rao, I think you should know how my father Lyndon died, right? Chief Lyndon? In the hall, everyone in the Daos family was surprised. How could they not know about Lyndon? They had a 10-year agreement with Jason, so they naturally paid attention to everything about Jason and the others. When Renault killed Roosevelt and Hoover, the 2 imperial spiritual masters of the Dekre family knew very clearly how they killed Lyndon outside the Hengduan Mountains at the junction of the Cairo Empire and the Northwest countries. Because of this incident, the Daos family was extremely shaken, and several meetings were even held. Yes. A glimmer of coldness flashed across Lavanzi's eyes, and he said coldly, back then, Roosevelt and Hoover of our Decre family were killed by Reynolds of the Todd family. My father came to seek justice. But I was killed by Renault and Jason. I was young back then and could only endure it. Also, my grandfather Haig died at the hands of Ice Emperor Wayne. I heard that Ice Emperor Wayne also fought with the Todd family, is very involved. How can I retreat with such deep hatred? Now, Jason has died in the forbidden land of the Seven Star Sea, and Renault and the Todd family are at large. Now, I am going to the Kingdom of Orlando, to seek justice for my Decre family. I heard that your Daos family also has a grudge against the Todd family of the Kingdom of Orlando. Therefore, I would like to invite you, the Daos family, to settle the matter with my Decre family. I wonder what Patriarch Rao wants to do about the Todd family. Destroy the Todd family together? Livin's words immediately caused everyone in the hall to whisper. Okay. However, before Rao could say anything, a loud shout came from Rao's side. It was Augustus. Augustus, sit down. After hearing Augustus' words, Rao suddenly shouted angrily, and at the same time he looked at Lavanzi and said, Chief Lavanzi, according to the Continental Peace Treaty, it seems a bit unreasonable for us to go to a small country like the Northwest Kingdom to cause trouble. Unreasonable, haha. But Livens couldn't help laughing. Chief Rao, now Lian Ling, the Medicine Master Tower no longer exists. Do you think the Continental Peace Treaty signed by the Twin Towers and the four major empires has any meaning? I don't think Patriarch Rao doesn't know what happened in the Continental Genius trial. Haha. Rao laughed, that's what I say, but after all, there has not been a war on the mainland. Besides, my Daos family and Jason made a 10-year agreement, and I, Daos, no matter what the family says, it is also a well-known family. Doing such a thing will make all the major families in the mainland laugh. Oh? Li Fons looked at Rao with a mocking look on his face. I think I understand what you mean. In that case, Chief Rao, I will resign first. After that, before Rao could say anything, Livens and the young man beside him stood up together and left straight away. See family. Before leaving the hall, Livens turned to look at Rao and the others, with a sneer of disdain in his eyes. Father, why did you reject that Li Fonzi? In the hall, Augustus stood up and said coldly, could it be that you still have thoughts about that Jason? That Jason is very powerful. It's good to be your grandson, but it's a pity that he is a bastard, and he is already dead, a good death, but it's a pity that I couldn't kill him with my own hands. In the hall, Augustus looked at Rao and sneered incessantly. Augustus, enough. Rao was so angry that he stood up suddenly, smashed the table beside him with one palm, and looked at Augustus with eyes full of anger. Enough? Augustus said coldly, Father, I will never forget the shame that Wayne and Renault brought to me. Humph, if it weren't for Renault, what would happen to our family? You will be reduced to this situation. You are still thinking about blood ties and are still unwilling to take action against Renault and others. It is simply ridiculous. Augustus looked at everyone present coldly. Elders, not long ago, you were still shocked by the news from Jason, blaming me for not taking action back then. What about now? When the news came out that Renault and Jason teamed up to kill the Linden Patriarch, the entire Daos family was greatly shocked. The elders who initially disliked Renault for being of low origin and average strength, and who hindered the relationship between Renault and Yulia, everyone was full of regrets. Later, as the Continental Elite competition progressed, Jason won the championship of the Continental Elite competition with the power of a 6th-level senior spiritual master, and became a disciple of the spiritual medicine master Tower, which even made Daos the family was shocked. However, the Continental Elite competition was held every 10 years. As time went by, some forces soon gradually forgot about it and no longer paid attention to it. However, they had 10 years of relationship with Renault and Jason. Naturally, they would not forget their appointment with the Daos family. Instead, they used various channels to find out about Jason's performance in the Alchemist Tower. Although the Daos family did not have any children in the Alchemist Tower, as one of the four great empires, the Cairo Empire, the Daos family, one of the four major families, still has some intelligence sources and means. Through various channels, they also obtained sporadic information about Jason's situation in the Elixir Tower. After learning that Jason entered the Elixir Tower, after becoming a core disciple in just 1 year, everyone in the Daos family was dumbfounded. They all knew that a senior disciple of the spiritual medicine master Pagoda must have to become a core disciple. In terms of attainments in elixir science, he has reached the 7th level of low-level elixir master. What is the concept of a 7th level low-level elixir master? In the Cairo Empire, that is a level that even the top elixir master in a province cannot reach. It is equivalent to a master in the Imperial Medicine Academy. He enjoys the respect of thousands of people. At this time, all members of the Daos family felt boundless regret, regretted the reckless decision they had made, and even regretted leaving Renaud and Jason behind. The talented father and son were expelled from the family. However, this was not the most shocking thing to the Daos family. Because of Jason's amazing performance, the Daos family desperately tried to find out about Jason, and not long ago, after learning that Jason had defeated the peerless genius Edmes, who was ranked 2nd and an 8th-level senior emperor spiritual master, in the elixir ranking competition in the Elixir Master Tower, everyone in the Daos family felt frightened. Yes, frightened. After 10 years of agreement, just over 5 years had passed, and Jason had grown from a boy they looked down upon to a 7th-level elixir master. Defeat, the existence of the 8th-level senior imperial spiritual master made everyone in the Daos family feel terrified. With Jason's growth rate, in about 10 years, he would have the power to destroy the Daos family. After all, the strongest person in the entire Daos family is only Rao, the head of the family, who is the 8th-level peak imperial spiritual master. Secondly, the most powerful person is Augustus, who is just broken through to the 8th-level peak emperor spiritual master. All gone. Of course. In fact, in the Daos family, the real number 1 person is Yulia, who is a disciple of the master in the empire. She was already the number 1 expert in the Daos family many years ago. It is a pity that because more than 20 years ago the Daos family abruptly separated her and Renaud, causing Yulia to be full of anger towards the family. She devoted herself to cultivating under that adult and almost never returned to the family. When Augustus and the 3rd elder Sally went to Orlando, the kingdom's killing of Jason and Renaud was carried out without telling Yulia. Over the years, she has been afraid of being known by Yulia. If Jason and Renaud really kill the family, who will Yulia help? It's hard to say. Thinking of this, everyone in the Daos family felt panic and tasted the bitter consequences of the past. However, the shock that Jason brought to them was far from over. Jason's deeds in sending to the Salem Empire, except for some big families in the Salem Empire, the forces in other empires may not pay attention, but the Daos family has not been left behind. The scandal caused by Jason in the Rondo province of the Salem Empire, the Daos family all I know, but the more popular Jason becomes, the more frightened the Daos family becomes. If when Jason was weak, the Daos family could still kill Jason through assassination or other methods, but now Jason has becoming the core disciple of the most powerful spiritual medicine master tower in the mainland. Even if the Daos family was given more courage, they would not dare to attack Jason. You know, the powerful ice-type Wayne in the Empire was killed because of Hegi, the core disciple of the spiritual master Pagoda, was hunted down by Lada Mandes, the 2nd elder of the spiritual master Pagoda. It was because of Wayne's complete lack of skills that he became a useless person. In addition, due to the intercession of the Empire's master, Lada Mandes' elder Mandes was the only one who spared Wayne. If they dared to attack Jason, let alone killing him, even if they killed him, with Jason's status and identity in the Alchemist Tower, the Alchemist Tower would if he gets angry, the Daos family will never exist on the mainland. Therefore, everyone in the Daos family can only spend every day in endless regret. Think about it, if Yulia and Renault were not stopped back then, even if he offended His Imperial Majesty Sergio, now that the family has Yulia, Jason, and Renault, His Majesty Sergio can only appease and win over the family. Think about it, the Germans of the Kamikaze Empire now, you can get a glimpse of the Clay family. No matter how you calculate it, the Decker family can only be regarded as a second-rate family, close to the first-rate family at most. However, because of the leader of the Hague family who was the core disciple of the spiritual master Tower, Decker the Lay family suddenly became the top family in the Kamikaze Empire. Later, it declined due to the death of Patriarch Hague. Now, Lee Fons of the Decker family has become the core disciple of the spiritual master Tower, sitting in the Deckret family. The family has once again become the top family in the Kamikaze Empire. In terms of status, the status of the elixir master is much stronger than that of the spiritual master. If Jason, who is ranked among the top in the elixir master Tower, becomes a member of the family member, that family, just thinking about it, all the elders and members of the Daos family are trembling and trembling. It's a pity that there will never be any regret medicine in this world. When all the members of the Daos family were in a state of panic and regret, everyone was stunned after what happened in the mainland genius trial came out. The status of the spiritual medicine master Tower, which was still majestic before, has plummeted. Forces such as the Cairo Empire and the spiritual master Tower joined forces to injure the master of the spiritual medicine master Tabasfama Tower, causing the Cairo Empire and the spiritual medicine master Tower to instantly stand on opposite sides. The Daos family was once again there is a feeling of surviving a disaster, and I am glad that I did not win over Jason and Renault. In just a few years, the hearts of all the elders and members of the Daos family were like going on a roller coaster, which kept going up and down, making them unable to bear it. Now, after hearing what Augustus said, everyone in the family hall, everyone was silent. Seeing the silent expressions of the elders in the hall, Augustus had a sneer on his face. Look at you. It is your attitude like this that makes the family one of the 4 major families in the Cairo Empire is getting worse every year? That's the old almanac. Now, go out and see which of the families in the empire admits this statement, and which one thinks highly of our Daos family. Augustus, you are presumptuous. Chief Rao was so angry that he was shaking all over and could hardly speak. Humph, father, elders, don't you go to the kingdom of Orlando? I will go alone. I will eradicate the Todd family and bleed me for 8 years. Despite the shame of the past, even though Jason is dead, there are also Renault and Wayne. Augustus said and walked out of the hall. Augustus, stop here. Chief Rao was furious, and a terrible aura escaped from his body, and he said angrily, if you don't stop, I will not recognize you as my son, and our Daos family will not recognize you as my descendant. Augustus, come back, don't disobey Patriarch Rao. Augustus. Patriarch, calm down. Many elders in the hall tried to persuade them. At the door of the hall, Augustus' footsteps stopped for an instant, and then turned around with a sneer on his lips. Father, please be patient, you are already old. Already after the words fell, Augustus rose into the sky and left the family hall in an instant. Youpft! Clan Chief Rao was furious, his face turned red, and he spurted out a mouthful of blood. Lord Patriarch, there was a sudden chaos in the hall. In Shawnee County, Lee Fons and a young man were walking slowly on the street. Lefonzi, the Daos family is so useless. No wonder our Cairo Empire is declining day by day. The young man who accompanied Livens had a sneer on his lips. Don't worry, this time I will accompany you to the Kingdom of Orlando to uproot the Todd family. If the Kingdom of Orlando doesn't understand, they will be killed. They also perished together. The young man is very arrogant and does not take the Todd family and the Kingdom of Orlando into consideration at all. Okay, hot, it is always a regret in my heart that Jason was not killed by me personally. This time I went to the Todd family. I want to kill Renault with my own hands, and Wayne. I heard he is very powerful. He is known as the Ice Emperor in the Cairo Empire. He is an 8th-level Imperial Spiritual Master, He was originally planning to join forces with the Daos family to take action. I didn't expect to be so ignorant, we should be more careful ourselves. Leofonzi's face was full of een. Ice Wayne is indeed a veteran powerhouse in our Cairo Empire. However, his strength was completely destroyed back then. Although it is said that he has recovered a lot now, with the strength of the two of us, joined forces, there is no fear at all. The young man had a sneer on his face. This Hout is a disciple of the Cairo Empire, but like Livence, he is also a core disciple of the spiritual master Tower. The two of them have a very good relationship. You too, who said that I am Daos? If the family doesn't care, leave it to me to kill Wayne myself. At this moment, a cold voice came from behind the two of them. Levanzi and Hot suddenly turned their heads, and a middle-aged man with a terrifying aura on his body fell like lightning. It was Augustus. In the Cairo Empire, Levanzi, Augustus and others were discussing going to the Kingdom of Orlando to kill the Renault, Wayne and Todd families. Under the sea of Seven Star Island, in front of Shuiling Palace. Undercurrents are slowly rolling through the bottom of the water. It is usually pitch black at the bottom of the sea, but this water spirit palace is made of unknown materials. Thousands of meters below the bottom of the sea, it is still emitting blue fluorescence, reflecting the seabed exceptionally brightly. In front of the water spirit palace, a young man with long black hair was lying there quietly. There was an invisible shield around him, wrapping his whole body in it, preventing him from being invaded by the sea water. This person was Jason, who absorbed the water spirit bead and fell into coma. At this moment, on Jason's body, blue rays of light are flashing continuously, forming strange and mysterious spirits, which appear from time to time. These spirits are simple and complex, full of mystery, and give people a sense of wonder. A feeling that contains the laws of the Great Road. Against the backdrop of these blue secret texts, Jason's body also faintly showed a blue color, giving people a sense of toughness and softness. After absorbing the water spirit bead, Jason was in a coma for more than a month. During this period, the secret texts on his body were like an electrified integrated circuit board, cycling through 1,000 tails every day. 100 times. With every cycle, this strange force was transforming Jason's body, causing his cells to transform from the inside out. Today, more than a month later, the secret texts on Jason finally seemed to have exhausted their energy, gradually fading, and finally completely disappeared into Jason's body. Phew! Suddenly, Jason, who had been lying there quietly, unconscious for more than a month without any movement, suddenly opened his eyes, and 2 blue rays of light bloomed from his eyes like lightning, stung the empty sea water. Jason stood up suddenly. Following his movements, the seawater at the bottom of the sea seemed to be boiling, rolling continuously. With every move of his hands and feet, terrifying water laws continued to dissipate, exuding a monstrous power. What a powerful water law! Jason murmured. By the way, let me see what kind of surprise this water spirit bead brings to me. The first thing Jason did when he woke up from coma was to start to feel his transformed body. This is the 8th level Peak Emperor, Spiritual Master. I have been promoted to the 8th level Peak Emperor, Spiritual Master. The first thing Jason sensed was the strong 8th level Peak Emperor spiritual power in his body, which was as rich as liquid. The 8th order Peak Emperor level spiritual power is constantly surging in the meridians throughout his body, and it is extremely powerful. At the same time, Jason felt that he was more harmoniously combined with the spiritual power between heaven and earth. Is this the 8th level Emperor Spirit Master? This kind of power, this understanding of the law? Under the sea, Jason looked at his hands blankly. He felt that his body was full of power at this moment. With every movement of his hands, a series of laws flowed through his body, full of Zixian's power. Jason had already prepared for himself to absorb the water spirit beads and increase his strength. However, in Jason's opinion, as he was already an 8th level Emperor Spiritual Master, the water spirit beads would only allow him to advance to the 8th level Advanced Emperor Spiritual Master at most, But he did not expect that the Emperor Spirit Master would directly advance to the 8th level, which made Jason quite pleasantly surprised. At the same time, Jason felt that his physical strength had greatly improved during this period of time. This kind of flexibility, this feeling of tenacity. As a skilled pharmacist, Jason is extremely sensitive to physical strength. He can feel that his current self, although his physical strength has not reached the 9th level, is still the same as before. The difference between 9th level and intermediate level is too much, especially in terms of resistance to blows and flexibility, which have been greatly improved. If his body strength had reached the 9th level intermediate level and he had taken 3 bottles of 8th level Emperor level elixir and his body was still injured when he entered the whirlpool 2,000 meters away, then Jason now feels that even if he does not take the medicine that increases the body's resistance, Xing's 8th level Imperial elixir doesn't need to be afraid of the tearing power of this vortex. By the way, there is also the water spirit bead. After feeling the strength of his body, Jason thought of the water spirit bead he had absorbed, and his spiritual consciousness quickly sensed the spiritual sea in his mind. Above his liquid spiritual sea, a gold, a cyan, an earthy yellow, and a blue sphere were quietly suspended there, in the shape of a 5-pointed star, located on the 4 sides of the 5-pointed star. The corners rotate slightly, forming a unique connection with each other. 1 gold, 1 green, 1 gray, and 1 blue, 4 kinds of filamentous energy, continuously emitted from the rotating sphere and penetrated into every part of Jason's body. Sure enough, it is in my mind together with the golden lingzhu and other major spiritual beads. So what about the skills of this water lingzhu? Jason murmured, his spiritual consciousness quickly spread to the water lingzhu, and at the same time, he used the strange power controls the water spirit beads to rotate. Buzz. A huge wave of water spiritual power suddenly came from Jason's body. In Jason's perception, a golden limit spiritual ring with a blue edge quickly emerged from his head. Came out, and then floated behind his head, turning into a 7th level spiritual ring. With the experience of the Earth Spirit Bead, Jason was not too surprised. He wanted to know the skills of the Water Spirit Bead and couldn't wait to activate the Spirit Ring. The Water Spirit Bead above Jason's spiritual seat suddenly accelerated its rotation, and a unique water spiritual power surged out from the Water Spirit Bead. Immediately, buzz. A blue light curtain quickly appeared in Jason's direction. As the center, it spread out to form a huge spherical space. This is Jason's eyes couldn't help but squint, and he felt the effect of his spherical space. In Jason's perception, this spherical space is completely under his control, and he can restrain the spiritual masters in it from all directions. This is a unique space, completely different from the elemental barrier of the 8th level Emperor, Spiritual Master, and the realm of the 9th level Holy Spirit Master. It is like a kind of innate secret method that can control the constraints of every inch of space based on the water spirit beads in one's mind, can control the direction of the bondage, and can also control the intensity of the bondage, specifically limiting the actions of the spiritual master in the space. This is a restraint space. After a moment, Jason, who understood the function of this space, could not help but reveal ecstasy on his face. This water space is somewhat similar to the gravity space that I built on the Philosopher's Stone, but its power is more than 100 or 1,000 times different. The gravity space can only make the opponent fall into a strong gravity. However, the gravity space only moves towards the gravity of the ground, but this water space is different. It is based on the laws of the water system, transforming it has a binding force similar to gravity, but its direction can suppress and repel it from all directions. Today's Jason, the most powerful killing moves, can be regarded as the god-destroying killing technique, the killing god's coming and the wrath of God. Among them, the god-destroying killing technique needs to be evolved and activated, and the god's wrath needs to be gathered momentum, slowly fuse the different powers. Both of these moves require time to prepare. But how can an ordinary spiritual master just wait for you to make a move? Therefore, in the 7-star Sea Forbidden Land, Jason always waited for Lan Yugusan and others to entangle each other before launching the final attack. But with this water space, it was different. Jason could completely rely on water. Use the space to restrain the opponent and buy yourself time to launch your attack. This water space is equivalent to another attribute of gravity space and a cage of heaven and earth, which substantially improves Jason's combat effectiveness. I didn't expect this water spirit bead to be so powerful, haha. Jason let out a long roar, and the roar made the water on the seabed surge wildly. At the same time, Jason also focused his attention on the water soaked in the sea water. In the Shuiling Palace. Jason was full of curiosity about this mysterious palace. Just as he slowly stepped forward and was about to arrive in front of the water spirit palace, "Stop here." A huge voice suddenly sounded in Jason's ears. And immediately, a terrifying pressure instantly enveloped Jason's body. "Who is it?" Jason was suddenly startled, his footsteps suddenly stopped, and he shouted loudly. "Me? You can call me the guardian of the temple, the great Lord Giras." The rumbling voice sounded again. "Temple guardian?" Jason's eyes suddenly widened. At this moment, he thought of the mysterious strong man in the cloud swamp. "I think since you got the golden Lingzhu, you should know about that guy Phils." The voice said indifferently. "Fears?" Jason's eyes were suspicious. "Are you talking about the guardian of Jintong Palace?" "Yes, that's it. It seems that it didn't tell you its origin. This Shuiling Palace is the residence of my lord Jiueshan Jet. You can take the Shuiling Pearl, but this Shuiling Palace belongs to me. The Lord's resting place does not allow you to take a step, so retreat quickly." The sonorous voice was full of majesty. It seems that this Giras does have some connection with the temple guardians of Jintong Palace, Shuiling Palace, God-killing Nadim, Jushinji. Special, there must be some connection between the two. Jason thought in his mind. Among them, one has a golden spirit bead and the other has a water spirit bead. There must be some relationship. "Sir, I would like to ask why the god-killing Nadim and the absolute god Jet fell in the first place, and where did those powerful spiritual gods go in ancient times?" Jason took a step forward and asked aloud. This doubt has been swimming in Jason's mind, making Jason puzzled and couldn't help but ask. "Why did the people of Gue fall?" The majestic voice spoke slowly, then fell into memories and became silent. After a while, it sounded again, "These things are not something you can understand. Your current strength is too weak. When you have the strength of the spiritual god, maybe I can tell you then, otherwise, telling you is useless. Well, you can leave." "Am I too weak now?" "When I have the strength of a spiritual god," Jason was stunned, and immediately clenched his fists. "These temples, these names, have long been annihilated in the long river of history and have never been heard of, but no matter whether they are from from the Tong Palace, or from the Water Spirit Palace, Jason could feel how prosperous the entire continent was in ancient times. It was definitely an era of strong men and turbulent times. But starting from 10,000 years ago, there has never been a strong man at the level of a spiritual god on the continent, and all the powerful spiritual gods in the past, like the god-killing Nadim and the absolute god Jet, have disappeared one by one. In the long river of history, space has left endless reveries to future generations." Thinking of this, Jason couldn't help but feel proud in his heart. But Jason also understood that before that, it is better to practice hard. On this continent, it seems that there are still many unknown secrets hidden. In that case, I will take my leave. Jason didn't waste any words, and immediately turned around and swept towards the top of the sea. Wow! Because Jason Dong collected the water spirit bead, he didn't need to hold up the spiritual power shield at all. The water spirit bead naturally formed a protective space. At the same time, wherever it went, the water flowed independently. "By the way, boy, what's your name? From what family?" The rumbling sounded again. Jason stopped and said, "Jason Todd." Jason teaches morality? There was doubt in the voice, and he said at the same time, these 5 people on 7-Star Island are your friends, right? 5 people on 7-Star Island? Jason nodded, yes. Obviously what Gieres is talking about is Lan Yuigusan and others. Haha, these 5 friends of yours are really determined to find you. The rumbling voice said again, what about this person? After the words fell, a terrifying spiritual power came. Suddenly, a mirror appeared in front of Jason. On the mirror, a picture appeared. A middle-aged man wearing a blue robe, holding a dreamy weapon. The ice sword, as thin as cicada wings, kept flying over a sea full of water mist. The water mist on the sea was like an illusion, constantly changing, and the blue figure kept moving on the sea. Rushing left and right, it seemed to fly very far, but as you can see on the mirror, the figure was always just turning back and forth in a small area, and did not go very far at all. This is Wayne. Seeing this figure, Jason's eyes suddenly opened with a hint of surprise, and he wondered, the place where he is shown in the mirror should be the Sea of Illusion, right? Why did he come to 7-Star Sea? Oh? Is he your friend too? He entered the 7-Star Sea 3 days ago, but he was trapped in this Sea of Illusion. Since he is your friend, I will release him. The 7-Star Island where you are now is a secret realm at the core of the 7-Star Sea. Through it's difficult to leave by normal means, but if you want to leave the 7-Star Sea, when you get to the 7-Star Island on the sea, you can speak out, and I will send you to the middle-aged man on the outskirts of the 7-Star Sea through the teleportation array in the forbidden area. The Sea of Illusion. The rumbling voice said. Send us to the Sea of Illusion? Jason's face suddenly showed joy, thank you very much, Senior. The Sea of Illusion is located at the outermost edge of the 7-Star Sea forbidden area, close to the desolate sea, to the east of the mainland. If Jason wants to get out of the 7-Star Sea, he doesn't know where he is now, and how to get out. Even if he knows the route, he has to passing through several major Jedi deep in the core of the 7-Star Sea forbidden land. There are many dangers along the way. Even after entering September, the danger of the 7-Star Sea forbidden land has been greatly reduced. It will take Jason and the others at least more than a month to reach the 7-Star Sea. The deserted sea outside the forbidden area. Now, Gieres actually said that he could teleport himself directly to the Sea of Illusion, which filled Jason's heart with joy. In this way, Jason could at least save more than a month, and there was no danger yet. Immediately, Jason no longer hesitated, and turned into a blue light along the sea water, rising into the sky towards the sea. Although there was no whirlpool channel in the sky above the Water Spirit Palace at this moment, this whirlpool channel was. Jason, who was formed by the Water Spirit Bead and has now absorbed the Water Spirit Bead, flies through the sea water at a speed no slower than when he came down from the passage, and is even a little faster. 7-Star Island is on the sea where the Whirlpool Passage was originally located. 5 figures were flying in the sky at this moment. No, Lan Yuigusan, I tried, this sea water is too scary even if I try my best, I can only go into the depth of 1,000 meters Swagu, and then go deeper, just can't bear it. In the sky, Caswell frowned and said, the coldness of the sea water is okay, and I can still hold on to the pressure. But that weird dizziness directly affects my soul. I can't resist it. What, Caswell, you took the 8th level Imperial elixir, but you only entered a depth of nearly 1,000 meters? Lan Yuigusan's brows were also frowning, and there was worry in his eyes. Lan Yuigusan, from what you said, the sea water is at least 2,000 meters deep, but we have worked hard for so many days, and the deepest is only Caswell entered nearly 1,000 meters. And he was still taking the elixir. If this continues, no matter how hard we try, we will not be able to reach the bottom of the sea. Casinus's eyes were also full of anxiety. Jason Edmes and the others had worries in their eyes. 1 month after Jason fell into vice, he took Edmes and others who prepared the 9th level holy elixir prepared by Jason were all Holy Spirit Masters who had advanced to the lower level of the 9th level. Originally, each of them was filled with joy and sorrow, and wanted to find Jason. He expressed his gratitude but only found Lan Yugusin, who was extremely worried on the sea. Later, after hearing that Jason was preparing a spiritual potion for them, he entered this mysterious whirlpool channel. Unexpectedly, Jason was there. Not long after Sun entered, the whirlpool channel collapsed and disappeared, but Jason was trapped on the bottom of the sea. After never appearing again, Cassius and others suddenly became anxious. Among these, nearly 10 ginseng. Cassius and the others tried their best to enter the seabed and look for Jason. But it was useless. The seawater was too terrifying. At the beginning, Blue Moon Gusen only entered a depth of 500 meters. After trying one by one, Cassius and Edmes also ended up in the water. After diving to a depth of several hundred meters, he returned in failure. Among them, the one who has dived the deepest is Caswall, who is an ice-based Holy Spirit master. The ice air of the Philippines seawater has the least impact on him, so he is enough to dive to a depth of 700 meters. Ever since, in order to let Caswall go deeper, Lanyue Gusen, Cassius, and Edmes used the materials around them to try every means to prepare an 8th-level imperial elixir for Caswall. The purpose is to allow Caswall to enter deeper under the sea. However, no matter how much Caswall took and how hard he worked, he could only dive to a depth of nearly 1,000 meters, which was still far from the bottom of the sea. When Lanyue Gusen rescued Jason in the passage, he had entered the passage 1,500 meters away. His shoes were still far from the bottom. But Lanyue Gusen knew that the bottom of the sea was probably far more than 1,500 meters depth. As a result, Lanyue Gusen and others could only frown and float over the sea area, thinking hard about a solution. I believe that with Jason's strength, he will never perish in this seabed. Cassius gritted his teeth and said, along the way, even when we are in despair, he is always able to stop us. There is no difficulty that can stump him. How could a person like him end up at the bottom of the sea? I believe he must still be alive. I believe it too, but maybe he is trapped under the sea. Somewhere under the sea, how can we rescue it? Lanyue Gusen also said. Damn it. Edmes bit down and growled. Just when everyone was anxious and unable to do anything, there was a swish. The seawater under them suddenly surged and set off waves. What's going on? Lanyue Gusen and the others immediately scattered and flew away, looking at the terrifying sea below with frightened faces. Boom! Amidst the huge roar, a wave suddenly rose into the sky, and at the same time, a figure rushed out of the wave like lightning. The terrifying aura dispersed, and at the same time an invisible blue seabow pattern spread out, instantly wrapping Lanyue Gusen and others in it. What's going on? Under this blue wave pattern, Lanyue Gusen and others suddenly felt a terrible binding force, instantly wrapping their bodies. At the same time, a wave of extremely cold ice, the chi spread to their bodies, making them feel cold all over. There was even a faint feeling of dizziness rising in their minds, making them all feel extremely uncomfortable. It was as if, in an instant, they all entered the seabed hundreds of meters below. That feeling made everyone extremely uncomfortable. Who? In the crisis, Lanyue Gusen and others shouted one by one. At the same time, they pulled out their weapons and pointed at the mysterious figure rushing out of the sea. However, the next moment, everyone's expressions were solidified. Jason, Lanyue Gusen and others murmured, and the weapons in their hands were instantly put down, with surprise in their eyes. The mysterious figure that rushed out from the bottom of the sea and exuded a terrifying aura was none other than Jason. Haha. Seeing the happy and astonished expressions on everyone's faces, Jason burst into laughter. At the same time, the water spirit beads in his mind rotated, completely absorbing the water space into his body. Above the sea, Lanyue Gusen and others, who had been extremely uncomfortable before, seemed like fishes returning to the water, feeling bursts of relief all over their bodies. Haha, Jason, I knew you were fine. Cassius was the first to come to Jason and punched him. Caswell and others also flew over with joy on their faces, excitement in their eyes. Jason, what skill did you release earlier? Just now, I felt dizzy, my whole body was cold, and I could hardly move. It felt like I was at the bottom of the sea. The two feelings were exactly the same. It was really scary, even for me. It's too much, how did you do it? Lanyu Gusen couldn't believe it. Yes. Edmiz and others also nodded. When Jason had just rushed out, the terrifying binding force made them, the 9th-level Holy Spirit Masters, find it difficult to move. This is the effect of a treasure I got at the bottom of the sea. Jason explained. When he was at the bottom of the sea, Jason just experimented casually and was unable to verify the true power of the water space. When he rushed out from the bottom of the sea, Jason had been controlling the water spirit bead, and naturally unfolded it, also from the blue moon Gusen. Others have verified its true power. A treasure you got? It's really scary. Cassinus and others sighed with emotion. Originally, after being promoted to the 9th-level low-level Holy Spirit Master, Cassinus was prepared to have a duel with Jason. However, after feeling the terrible restraint previously, Cassinus did not want to be abused. I think I, Cassinus, am also a genius among geniuses and a peerless monster. How could I meet a pervert like you? God is really unfair. Cassinus curled his lips. Cassinus, you are still complaining. If it weren't for the monster Jason, I'm afraid we would still be stuck as 8th-level peak Imperial spiritual masters. Monica said with a smile. This, Cassinus scratched his head, but he didn't know what to say. Haha. Seeing Cassinus's expression, everyone laughed. Everyone, my absence for more than a month has made everyone worried. Jason looked at the heartfelt smiles in everyone's eyes and felt very warm in his heart. You guy, you also said that if this happens again, please be careful. Lanyu Gusen gritted his teeth. She had been worried about Jason for more than a month. This feeling made her very painful, and she could hardly have a moment of peace. Haha, there won't be a next time. Jason said with an apology on his face, now that everyone has gathered, let's leave the 7-star island and return to the mainland. Okay, return to the mainland. Cassinus gritted his teeth and said coldly, I will make the Spiritual Master Tower, Sin City, Cairo Empire, and Kamikaze Empire all taste the bitter consequences. Yes. Caswell was also angry. He spoke with murderous intent in his eyes. Everything that has happened in the past few days is like a knife, cutting wounds in everyone's hearts and bodies. At this moment, everyone can't wait to return to the mainland to seek justice. Especially, the Deputy Tower Master of Jia Luo, everyone wanted to cut him into pieces to avenge his revenge in the forbidden land of 7-star Sea. Okay, in that case, everyone come close to me. Jason said. Close to you? Everyone was doubtful, but still approached Jason. Senior, please teleport. Jason said to the undersea spiritual consciousness. Buzz. Suddenly, a huge wave of spiritual power suddenly floated in the space where Jason and the others were. A series of mysterious runes were lingering around Jason and the others, and a circular and profound formation formed, suddenly appeared in the void at the feet of Jason and the others. Immediately, a dazzling light spurted out from the mysterious formation, wrapping Jason and the others in it. The next moment, the weather was calm, the spiritual energy rippled and disappeared, the runes and formations that were constantly rotating and glowing in the void suddenly disappeared, and the 6 Jasons who were originally gathered together disappeared without a trace. The Water Spirit Palace, deep under the sea. The Todd family? It's really strange. The Lord back then probably didn't have this surname. However, regardless of whether you are the descendant of that lord or not, since you can come here and get the water spirit bead, it is also your destiny. Good luck. A full and majestic voice rumbled on the bottom of the sea, and then slowly disappeared. Outskirts of the 7-star Sea Forbidden Area. This is a mysterious sea area. On the entire sea surface, the wind and waves are calm, and clusters of hazy mist are constantly passing by. It is like a fairyland on earth, giving people a magnificent feeling. No one knows that such a beautiful place is one of the 7 forbidden areas in the mainland, the most dangerous and desperate situation on the outermost edge, the Sea of Illusion. At this moment, above the calm Sea of Illusion, a figure wearing a blue robe was slowly flying forward. He was holding a memeing transparent ice sword, and there was anxiety in his eyes, and his forehead even leaked. Sweated. This man, just to find Jason, flew through the Sea of Illusion for 3 full days, but still couldn't find the exit and was trapped in Ice St. Wayne. Where exactly is the exit of the Illusion Sea? Wayne's heart was filled with anxiety. Just as Wayne continued to move forward, struggling to find the exit of the Sea of Illusion, suddenly buzz. A terrifying breath appeared in the void in front of Wayne. What? Wayne couldn't help but be startled. He stopped abruptly and disappeared into the depths of the clouds and mist below the Sea of Illusion. At the same time, he raised the sword in his hand and looked forward with vigilance. In the 7-star Sea, one of the 7 forbidden areas in the mainland, even Wayne, as a 9th-level Holy Spirit Master, did not dare to be careless in the slightest. In Wayne's eyes, all he could see was that above the Sea of Illusion in front of him, the originally calm void suddenly began to tremble violently. At the same time, mysterious laws flowed, and runes engraved with profound meanings appeared in the air. Emerged in the void, blooming with dazzling light. The next moment, several figures exuding an astonishing aura suddenly appeared in the formation, suspended in the void, while those profound runes and mysterious laws slowly dissipated and disappeared. Each of these figures exudes an amazing aura, giving people an extremely powerful feeling. This is Wayne, who was hidden in the clouds, felt the terrifying aura exuded by these figures, and was shocked. However, the next moment, he saw someone among them, and his eyes, where he stared instantly. There were 6 people in this group, and the one clustered in the center was a young man who looked to be in his 20s and had long black hair. These 6 people were Jason and others who were teleported from the 7-star island, the deepest part of the 7-star Sea forbidden area. This is here? As soon as Lan Yugusan and others appeared, they looked around with suspicion in their eyes. The memeing sea surface could not be seen to the end at a glance, which made Lan Yugusan and others confused. Where did he end up? This is the Illusion Sea, the outskirts of the 7-star Sea. Jason said. Illusion Sea? Lan Yugusan and others had doubts in their eyes. Obviously, they were not as familiar with the forbidden land of the 7-star Sea as Jason. However, just as everyone was looking around, suddenly, a blue figure exuding a terrifying aura flew directly out of the clouds below. Who is that person? Sensing the terrifying aura on this person's body, Lan Yugusan and others all drew out their weapons and stared coldly at the sudden appearance of the figure. They didn't know if the Spirit Master Tower was worried that they were not dead, so it arranged for someone to guard their appearance outside the 7-star Sea. Stop, it's one of our own. Seeing the tense mood between the two sides, Jason suddenly shouted loudly. Jason! The figure looked at Jason blankly, slowly flew forward, and made an excited sound. Wayne! Jason also shouted excitedly, and immediately, the two people's hands were tightly held together. After a brief exchange of greetings between the two parties, Jason introduced Wayne to everyone, and he was also the one who introduced everyone to Wayne. Seeing that it was one of their own, both parties expressed friendship. By the way, Wayne, how did you come to this 7-star Sea? Jason couldn't help but wonder. That's it. It turned out that in order to find out information about Jason, Wayne quietly lurked to the genius trial place, but found nothing. However, Wayne did not give up. He used various methods to inquire in the Kamikaze Empire and Cairo Empire, but found nothing. Just when Wayne was about to give up, he accidentally got some news, saying that the genius trial was at that time. Not all the genius disciples were killed on the spot, some of them escaped into the forbidden area of the 7-star Sea, the place of trial. However, These people were also killed one by many ninth-level Holy Spirit masters and elders who subsequently entered the Forbidden Area, including several powerful disciples from the spiritual medicine master tower. This news was mixed in a large amount of messy information. If ordinary people heard it, they would never believe it. However, Wayne, who firmly believed that Jason would not die, felt that he saw a glimmer of hope in the dark night. Therefore, in order to find those disciples who entered the Forbidden Area at the core of the Seven-Star Sea, Wayne immediately decided to go to the Forbidden Area of the Seven-Star Sea. Finally, a few days ago, Wayne crossed the vast desolate sea on the east side of the continent and arrived at the outskirts of the Seven-Star Sea. However, Wayne, who had never entered the Seven-Star Sea Forbidden Area, accidentally fell into the depths of the most dangerous Jedi on the outskirts of the Seven-Star Sea Forbidden Area, the Illusion Sea. As a result, he, a ninth-level Holy Spirit Master, was trapped deeply. Among them, no exit can be found. Just when he was extremely anxious, he didn't expect that the Jason he was looking for suddenly appeared in front of him. That's it. After hearing Wayne's story, Jason couldn't help but nodded. Immediately, Jason frowned and said with a hint of worry in his eyes, "By the way, Wayne, you come to me, then where are the father and the others?" Jason could imagine his father's sad look when he learned the bad news about him. When he thought of this, Jason couldn't help but feel heartbroken. "Your father, go back to the Kingdom of Orlando now. You know, the situation on the mainland is very unstable now. He is afraid that something will happen to the Todd family, so he is planning to move everyone in the family away," Wayne said. Jason couldn't help but nod. "Okay, now that everyone is gathered, let's go back," Jason said. "Jason, this sea area is extremely weird. I can't get out no matter what, so everyone should be careful," Wayne reminded hurriedly. "It's okay, just follow me." Jason didn't care. Under the leadership of Jason, one day later, Jason and others arrived at the outer side of the fantasy world, at the junction of the forbidden land of the Seven-Star Sea and the desolate sea on the east side of the mainland. 3 days later, in the easternmost part of the continent, at the harbor of a certain kingdom, a mysterious group of 7 people returned to the land from the endless ocean. Stern continent, I, Jason, am back. Looking at the endless continent, the leading black-haired young man murmured, his eyes sparkling. The soft sunshine spreads down, and a few white clouds float in the clear sky. The breeze blows through the mountains and forests, and there are bursts of rustling sounds, giving people a sense of tranquility and ease. On the boundless plain, there are many people sitting there. The city is full of vitality. On an October day, the cool breeze blew slightly through the sky, which was already quite cool. The white clouds in the sky, blown by the wind, transformed into various shapes, giving people a beautiful feeling. This is the easternmost border of the Northwest countries, at the end of the 30,000-mile Hengduan Mountains. Looking from a distance, the majestic undulating mountains, high mountains, and ridges tower into the sky, and the jagged rocks stretch endlessly. At this moment, 3 black spots suddenly appeared at the end of the sky, slowly became clearer in the field of vision, and stopped at the end of the Hengduan Mountains. This is a middle-aged man and 2 young men. The middle-aged man's eyes are cold and murderous, while the 2 young men's eyes are cold and cold. Just seeing them makes people feel angry all over. Pimple. This is the Northwest Kingdom? My father died here back then. Looking at the endless plains and the scattered cities that were faintly visible on the plains, one of the young men, covered by a black cloak, said coldly. Speak indifferently. Yes, this is the Northwest Kingdom. Where we are now is the Orlando Kingdom of the Northwest Kingdom, and the Renault and Todd families are in front of the Orlando Kingdom's royal city, Colton. The middle-aged man, there was also a sneer on his face. These 3 people were Augustus, Livens, and Hot, who had traveled from the Cairo Empire to the Kingdom of Orlando to cause trouble for Renault and Wayne. Back then, the 3rd elder Augustus and Sally entered the Kingdom of Orlando from here. As a result, Wayne, who had recovered most of his strength, was seriously injured and fled back to Cairo in embarrassment. now that so much time has passed, that scene back then, but it always echoed in Augustus' mind, filling him with anger. Now, once again returning to the kingdom of Orlando, Augustus was full of excitement. This time, he wanted to avenge the shame of the past. Very well, Augustus, you lead the way. No matter whether Renaud and Wayne are in the kingdom of Orlando or not, as long as we put the Todd family under control, we won't be afraid that they will not come back. And the kingdom of Orlando, if it's okay if you recognize the identity, but if you don't, just kill them together. A sneer appeared at the corner of Livon's mouth, and his eyes were full of coldness. Haha, let's go. Whoosh. 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 Immediately, 3 streams of light instantly cut across the sky, heading towards King Orlando's location at lightning speed. Orlando Kingdom, Royal City Colton. Dongqing District is where the Todd family, the most powerful family in the Kingdom of Orlando, is located. In the past, there was always an endless flow of people here, but at this moment, there is silence and tranquility, without any noisy atmosphere, just a feeling of decadence. In this huge mansion, it was strangely empty. There was no sound of people. What was left was just silence. Only in the courtyard, a figure wearing a golden robe was standing there quietly, like a with a straight javelin. He looked at the familiar plants and trees with a trace of sadness in his eyes. Whoosh! At this moment, a sharp sound broke through the air, and immediately, a fiery red figure appeared in the courtyard, standing next to the middle-aged man in gold robe. Reno, it has been 3 days since Rost and Leo left. If the estimate is correct, they are probably close to the Spirit Beast Mountain Range and have entered the Spirit Beast Mountain Range. I think it is time for you to leave now. Well, otherwise, Augustus and the others are about to arrive. As soon as the fiery red figure fell, he issued a dissuasion. Lin, stop talking, I won't leave now. Renaud was silent for a while, but spoke calmly. After hearing what Renaud said, Dylan suddenly became anxious. Reno, why are you so confused? I know that your strength must have improved greatly compared to before. However, the information sent by Flying Eagle that day clearly stated that Augustus has made great progress in these years, the Emperor's spiritual master who has advanced to the peak of the 8th level, and besides him, there is also Li Fonzi of the Decker family, and another core disciple of the spiritual master tower. Both of them are also 8th level. Intermediate Emperor Spirit Masters, not to mention, as genius core disciples of the Spirit Master Pagoda, these guys are definitely capable of transcending levels to challenge. If you don't leave, I'm afraid it will be too late. Lin had an anxious look on his face. With the passage of time, everything that happened in the continent's genius trial place gradually spread to every corner of the continent, including the northwest countries where the Kingdom of Orlando is located. In the Continental Elite competition that year, Jason and Claire from the Kingdom of Orlando, Denisha from the Rubiner Kingdom, and Temujin from the Western Wilderness Tribe, became famous in the Continental Elite competition with their amazing strength, and were later spiritually he was recruited by the Medicine Master Pagoda and became a disciple of the Spiritual Medicine Master Pagoda. This became the most talked about deed of all the people in the northwest of the mainland and was spread thousands of miles away. And Jason, from the Todd family in the Kingdom of Orlando, was directly promoted to a senior disciple of the Alchemist Tower as a champion, and became the idol of everyone in the Kingdom of Orlando and even the Northwest countries. In the past few years, because of this, the Kingdom of Orlando has become more and more powerful in the Northwest countries. However, when what happened in the mainland genius trial place not long ago came out, the people of the entire continent were shocked. And even more the people who were most shocked were the people of the Kingdom of Orlando and the members of the Todd family. The battle between the 9 major forces in the mainland has made the people of the entire continent panic. Even the stupidest people understand that the peace period that has lasted for thousands of years on the mainland is over. Jason's death also made Leo and others of the Todd family extremely sad. At the same time, they also faced an extremely serious problem. That is the 10-year agreement with the Daos family still valid? Since Jason became the core disciple of the Alchemist Tower, the members of the Todd family have already put their 10-year agreement with the Daos family behind their minds. It's not that they are indifferent, it's because Jason is here and there is the alchemist. With his status as a core disciple of the Tower, even if the 10-year agreement comes, he would not dare to come to the Kingdom of Orlando to cause trouble with the courage of the Daos family. But now, without the intimidation of Jason, the core disciple of the Spirit Medicine Master Tower, will the Daos family still keep their promise? Leo, Rost and others were not sure. In such a situation, Renaud came back. The first thing he did when he came back was to tell Rost and others about the territory of chaos, and asked the family members to come back. Recently, they all moved to the territory of chaos. The Todd family has been thriving in the Kingdom of Orlando for hundreds of years. For many generations, the Kingdom of Orlando is the root of the Todd family. Under this sudden request, everyone was extremely reluctant to give up. Of course, Rost and the others were not unreasonable. They understood the seriousness of the situation. After explaining the reason to His Majesty Lecent and others, they prepared to pack up the family's property. However, just as Rost, Leo, and others were cleaning up, a group of flying books from the Daos family in the Cairo Empire disrupted everyone's original plan. This flying book was sent by Rao, the patriarch of the Daos family. There were only a few simple sentences in it, but these words were like a bolt from the blue, hitting everyone's minds. On the flying book, there were only a few simple sentences, that is, Augustus of the Daos family, Livens of the Decker family, and Hout of the Muse family of the Cairo Empire were rushing to the Kingdom of Orlando. Destroy the Todd family and kill Renaud and Wayne to avenge the past. Seeing this news, Rost, Leo, Dylan, Lecent and others who knew about it were all shocked. The Daos family is one of the 4 major families in the Cairo Empire. Augustus went to the Kingdom of Orlando twice to prepare to kill Renaud, but due to some reasons, he had no choice but to return twice. However, in the past few years, practiced crazily, and finally reached the peak of the 8th level Emperor Spirit Master not long ago. The Decre family also has a deep hatred against the Todd family. The family patriarch, Haig, died at the hands of Wayne. A few years ago, Roosevelt and Hoover came to the Kingdom of Orlando and were aggressive. Renaud killed Renaud. After getting the news, his clan leader Lyndon came alone and prepared to snipe Renaud and Jason, but they were jointly killed by Renaud and Jason outside the Hangduan Mountains. This Lavanzi, however, was he performed amazingly in the mainland elite competition, joined the Spiritual Master Tower, and became the core disciple of the Spiritual Master Tower. He is an 8th level intermediate Emperor spiritualist. As for Hout from the Cairo Empire's Muse family, they came purely to help Lavanzi, but this Muse family is also a famous family in the Cairo Empire, and this Hout is also the core disciple of the Spirit Master Pagoda, an 8th level intermediate Emperor Spirit Master. His strength is extraordinary. The arrival of these 3 people shocked Rost and others, and they didn't know what to do. At this time, they didn't care about why Rao, the leader of the Daos family, sent this news. Under Renaud's decision, all the members of the Todd family gathered together and fled towards the Spirit Beast mountain range. As for some fixed family properties, I can't care about them at this time. In fact, the northwest countries where the Kingdom of Orlando is located are surrounded by mountains and are wrapped in the Hangduan Mountains. On the west side is the most mysterious Spirit Beast mountain range among the 7 forbidden lands on the mainland. Only the east has an exit from the Hangduan Mountains. But at this time it was obvious that there was no way to exit the Hangduan Mountains, and it was easy for both parties to encounter each other. Therefore, Renaud made a decision to let the family members enter the Spirit Beast Mountains, and then cross the Hangduan Mountains from the periphery of the Spirit Beast Mountains and enter the south and west. The decision-making of the Wilderness Tribe, and then through the Western Wilderness Tribe, from the Rubiner Kingdom out of the northwest of the continent, into the Salem Empire, and then to the territory of chaos. But Renaud himself stayed behind, blocking Augustus and others, in order to buy time for Rost and others, lest the other party catch up and cause the entire family members to be destroyed. When the family members entered the Spirit Beast mountain range, they were basically safe. Set off again by yourself and catch up with everyone. At the beginning, Rost, Leo, and others did not agree. In the end, they could not defeat Renault and had to agree to Renault's idea. Now, it has been 3 days since the large family force led by Rost left, and the team was about to enter the Spirit Beast Mountains. However, Renault did not pursue it, but continued to stay in the family mansion, letting His Majesty Licent wait. People were extremely anxious and always sent Di Lin to dissuade him. Seeing Renault's indifferent look, Di Lin suddenly became extremely anxious. Just when Di Lin was about to persuade Renault. Oh! In the yard, Renault, whose face had always been as calm as water, suddenly raised his head, and a terrifying light burst out from his eyes. At the same time, one by one, everyone in the Todd family, get out and die. A cold and thick voice, the roar of anger, resounded loudly in the sky above the city of King Colton. The huge roar, like thunder, gathered the attention of the people in the entire royal city. All the people who heard this sound raised their heads and looked at the sky. Above the blue sky, 3 black figures, like 3 demon gods descending from the sky, stood proudly in the void, staring at the city below with cold eyes. 3 terrifying auras continued to escape from the 3 bodies, shaking the world. It's Augustus, they're coming in the courtyard's hands. Di Lin raised his head with a look of horror on his face. As a 7th-level senior imperial spiritual master, Di Lin could feel the terror of the 3 people in the sky. The terrifying aura emanating from them made him feel trembling in his heart just from a distance. In the palace of the Kingdom of Orlando, His Majesty Licent also raised his head, with a hint of worry in his eyes. Beside him, the shadow always stood quietly, silent. He's still here. Licent looked at the Todd family mansion and sighed. Reno, please leave quickly. In the yard, Di Lin was still urging him. Escape? Renault smiled casually. We can't escape, and there is no need to escape. What should be solved will eventually be solved. Let's put an end to it today. After the words fell, Renault soared into the sky and flew towards in the air. Reno, Di Lin stomped his foot fiercely and let out a long sigh. Immediately, a trace of determination flashed in his eyes, and he followed behind Reno and soared into the sky. Reno, you're actually asking for it here. Where are the rest of your Todd family? Where are they hiding? Why didn't I sense their presence? They couldn't be hiding, haha. In the sky, Auguste Stewart looked at Renault coldly. Reno, do you still remember me on the side? Livens also looked at Reno coldly. Are you that little bastard from the Decre family? Renault sneered. Livens was furious and wanted to take action, but the next moment, he held back the movement of his hands, his eyes as cold as poisonous snakes. Humph, Renault, when you and Jason killed my father, this time, I will kill you personally, and that Wayne, where are they? Could it be that his famous Ice Emperor is hiding like a turtle? Everyone, this is my territory of the Kingdom of Orlando. Please all the immortals. Di Lin, who had just arrived, spoke immediately, but before he could finish his words, he was interrupted by Hout. Get out of my way. This matter has nothing to do with your Orlando kingdom. Go away obediently and I can spare your life. If you continue to chirp, believe it or not, I will slap you to death and give you to your Orlando kingdom. Destroyed. Di Lin's face turned blue and white, but he couldn't say anything. As a 7th-level senior imperial spiritual master, although he can be regarded as a master on the mainland, and in the northwest countries, he can be regarded as the first master, but facing the core of the spiritual master tower in Hout Disciple, an 8th-level intermediate emperor spiritual master, the opponent is definitely capable of slapping him to death. What are you doing? Why don't you get out of here? Trash is just trash, why are you pretending to be a master? Seeing what Di Lin wanted to say, Hout shouted angrily again, with a terrifying murderous intention rising from his body. Di Lin, please step back, this matter has nothing to do with you. In the sky, Renault said indifferently. This alas, Lin looked back and forth between Renault and the two parties twice, and finally sighed helplessly, then turned around and flew down. It's not that he doesn't want to help Renault, but in such a battle, he, who is the 7th level senior imperial spiritual master, can't help at all. I'm afraid he will fall if he meets him. If he insists on staying here, it is just a needless sacrifice. Moreover, he has the kingdom of Orlando behind him. If he angers the other party, he may really destroy the kingdom. By then, he, Lin, will be the sinner of the entire kingdom. Reno, tell me, where is Wayne? He made me so embarrassed back then, and today, Augustus, want to let him know the consequences of offending me. Augustus said coldly. Have you said enough? Renault said indifferently. Huh? Augustus and others couldn't help but be startled. They found that surrounded by the three of them, there was no look of panic or fear on Renault's face, but only calmness. Enough said, then die. Renault said coldly, and the next moment, he took action brazenly. A golden long sword suddenly appeared from his hand, then aimed at Hout in front of him and stabbed directly. Boom! The terrifying spiritual power surged into the sky. For a moment, the spiritual power surged like waves and swept across the sky. The golden spiritual power condensed on the long sword in Renault's hand and directly pierced the void. What? Hout exclaimed in front of Renault. He never thought that facing the siege of 3 8th-level Emperor spiritual masters, Renault would dare to take the lead. At this moment, Hout hastily pulled out the sword on his body was blocked in front of him. Boom! A shocking explosion resounded over the entire royal city, and among the golden spiritual light that filled the sky, Hout was suddenly thrown away. There was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth, and he gritted his teeth, looking quite embarrassed. The robe on his body, there is also a lot of damage. With just one blow, Renault, who took the lead, injured Hout, the genius core disciple in the spiritual master tower. Reno, you are looking for death. On the side, seeing this scene, Augustus said coldly. He raised his right hand suddenly, aimed at Reno, and punched him. Augustus punched out, and all the earth spiritual elements in the world became violent. Countless gray earth elements filled the air, blocking the rays of the scorching sun. A huge fist of earth element appeared in the void. Gathered, aimed at Renault's location, and struck fiercely. Boom! The terrifying aura dispersed, and under the full blow of Augustus, who was the 8th-level peak emperor spiritual master, the void was directly shattered. Wherever the fist of the earth element passed, ripples rippled out in the void, tearing apart space cracks. Reno. Below, all the people in the royal city felt this terrible blow. Their bodies were all weak and their hearts were beating fast. However, they clenched their fists and stared at the battle above the royal city, their hearts filled with excitement. Got worried. His Majesty Licent, Lin, Shadow and others were even more nervous, their hearts suddenly raised to their throats, and their eyes were full of worry. Lin and Shadow hate themselves for being incompetent. Although they are 7th-level senior imperial spiritual masters and are not weak, in such a battle, they are unable to intervene at all. Like Augustus, the top experts at the 8th level of the species, I am afraid that the aftermath of a punch can break them into pieces and fall on the spot. In the sky, under the explosion of Augustus, a terrifying and powerful attack suddenly came to Renault. Facing this attack, Renault's expression was indifferent, and a golden light suddenly appeared in his solemn golden pupils. An incomparable pressure suddenly burst out from his body, and the astonishing momentum dissipated. Renault's whole body glowed with golden light, and a strong aura continued to rise from his body. Wang! Countless golden sword shadows flew out from Renault's body. Thousands of golden lights appeared over the entire city of chaos. For a time, countless sword shadows floated, and the original power of the golden element spread throughout the sky. Emerged, and then combined with the spiritual power released by Renault, it instantly condensed into a world. The basic 6th form of the metal spiritual master's control over the world of swords. In the sky, countless golden glows were like thousands of golden swords flying in the air, constantly turning, and with a slight tremor, the terrifying power of the metal dispersed. It seems that the space is distorted. Sword of the world, Ning. Renault's eyes glowed with divine light, and he shouted loudly. Boom! 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 The world of swords covering half of the sky shrunk rapidly. Countless golden sword energies continued to shrink and condense, and then condensed into a sword nearly 10 meters long in front of Renault. Huge golden sword. Renault waved his giant sword, and his whole figure looked like a golden god of war, aiming at the elemental fist unleashed by Augustus and slashing it down. A golden giant sword and an elemental fist collided together in the void. Boom! In the unparalleled explosion, a huge spiritual storm swept everything. The elemental fist unleashed by Augustus collapsed directly under Renault's blow and turned into a sky-filled cloud. Earth element. A sword split Augustus's attack, and the sword of the world in Renault's hand remained unabated, and it came to Augustus in an instant.